It's sort of a bit of a throwback to the steam engine design. Hi, it's Dave from the Hobbyman by Hearns. Spoiler alert today with this presentation. It's going to be purely for 00 scale modelers. And the reason being is today we're going to be presenting our latest offerings from Bachmann UK, which has just recently hit our shelves, both here at Hearns and at the Hobbyman. And it's the iconic little 08, little diesel shunter. Just get a closer view. Now, UK modelers would be well and truly aware and probably know a lot about this little engine, the little British Railways 08. It's an iconic little engine only because I think there was something like 996 of them produced from about 1952 to 1962, sorry. So if I'm wrong, yeah, leave it in the comments below. Okay, moving on about the history of it, just a brief history for someone who's new to the hobby. If you are a dedicated UK modeler, you'd probably just go off and make a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and come back to this. But anyway, moving forwards, yeah. The history of this little engine goes back to about the early 1930s, back when the UK rail network was basically run by four large railway companies, and one of them being LMS, London Midlands Scottish Railways, who, entering into the 1930s during the Depression years, came up with the idea of using diesel traction as an alternative to steam to save costs during that period of time. And by all accounts, I think it was quite successful. Moving forwards 20 years, just after nationalisation of the British rail system, when the Labor government bought out all the rail companies and nationalised it, as the system was run down and it was an austerity-ridden UK, and there was a need to get Britain moving again and industries functioning, they were in the market looking around for a shunter. So again, the little 08 came to the rescue. It was built by English Electrics, which was an iconic English company at the time, who were also famous for building jet aircraft too, believe it or not. But I don't think so in the same factory. Anyway, as you can see, it's sort of a bit of a throwback to the steam engine design with its 060 wheel arrangement. Sorry, I'll just get that into focus. There we go. Yeah, I'm probably making you guys dizzy out there. Yeah, so it does have a sort of like similarities to a steam engine, as on the other side of the Atlantic. In America, they were going for much larger units for shunting, and they had obviously bigger prime movers. These things only had 350 horsepower, believe it or not. So they weren't really a super duper power shunting unit, not like you'd have in the States, which had bogies and cabs at one end. Yeah. Anyway, the design was very successful. It was used right throughout the UK, and you wouldn't probably find a shunting yard, a carriage shed, or an industrial siding, whether it be a cement works, an iron works, a coal mine, where you didn't have a little 08 plying its trade. And ironically enough, even coming forward to current day, and you'll probably see a really brightly painted up one beside me here, this one here, and a colour scheme that looks very familiar to some Australian models, as the company is also operating in Australia. Freightliner, yeah, it's still turning $1 today, and even in this day and age, these little engines are still working in the modern age. Probably not pushing little four-wheel open 16-ton coal wagons, but probably intermodal container wagons. So yeah, that's basically the history of it. It's in the colour scheme, or the packaging that we've come to know from Bachmann, the blue and red. And what I always like is there's always a little bit of a history on the back. I don't know if anyone ever reads it, but yeah, it gives you a bit of a brief rundown. Okay. As you can see, it's in the plastic ice cube packaging, which keeps it nice and safe. Now, the one we're opening up now is the later BR green scheme with wasp striping. It's all safely locked away. There's not really much in the way of add-on detail. Just get that out of the way. You get the usual basic instructions, which are comprehensive enough. You will note too, I don't know if you see that, it has a flywheel. It's got a rather heavy sort of a flywheel. They will take an 8-pin decoder. And another thing I've noticed straight off is that it's quite weighty. I'll just give you, there we go. This version here, the later BR scheme, is actually weathered, and actually for a factory weathered paint job, it's actually pretty good. Some of them can look very generic, where someone's just blown over the model with some dark grey or some brown, but this is not bad for a factory weathering job. Now there is a bit of added on detail. You can see there's handrails. We've got a bit of conduit here. I don't know if you can see that. I'll just pull it up to the camera. Yeah, you can actually see some added on conduit, sprung buffers. Turning around. There's a bit of moulded on detail there, which looks pretty good actually. And there we go, we've got wipers and then more electrical cables. Yeah, it's not bad. It's actually in a really good price range, which we can come to later. Now, in the current offering, with this from the summer or the UK summer lineup, there's a couple of, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5 on offer. We have the early British Rail scheme, which is the more prominent looking lion. It has a, I think it'd probably be more of an air whistle than an air horn. Otherwise, it's not much different from the others, other than the scheme. We have one of the current private rail operators in the UK, Harry Needles Railroad, which is sort of a bit strange for the English to use the word railroad, but yeah, I think he's a private rail operator. I think they do maintenance and infrastructure trains on the UK network. It's in a rather attractive scheme. Just one little thing I noticed too, they're also got this little air pressure gauge on all of them. So I would imagine that would have been for the shunter to just see if the train had its brakes pumped up enough before moving off. And another private operator in the rather attractive orange, which is sort of like growing on me. It looks completely inappropriate on an old loco, but it does actually grow on you. So if you're a modern era modeler, with people running around in day-glow vests and modern cars on your layout, this could be for you. And finally, we have British Rail in the 60s and 70s blue scheme with wasp striping. So, got to remember, these weren't mainline engines. They were actually just little yard terriers. So they would have just been breaking up trains and putting trains back together all the time. So they wouldn't have travelled much faster than a middle-aged man with a flat cap and a sports jacket could run beside them. So I think they only had a top speed of about 25 miles an hour. So even in Ks, that's not fast. Yeah, there we go. But like I said before, it's rather smooth. That's just me, by the way, not the model. Yeah, so a rather nice little loco. Okay, well in closing, yeah, it's well priced. We have stocks of them both here at the Hearns and at the Hobby Man. If you are interested, and we anticipate that this engine will sell reasonably quick because it's a bit of a favourite. And just as a thought, if anyone out there is looking for a layout idea, you could probably build a layout around one of these little locos. Suggestion, just a thought. A warehouse and a factory. Few wagons, and you could build yourself a layout purely just based around a little loco, a couple of points, and you could have a shunting layout. Just a thought. But anyway, in closing, if you are interested, please contact us either at the Hobby Man or at Hearns, or you can go online. And just remember, any order over $100 is free throughout Australia. Okay, in the meantime, happy modelling and have fun with it. All right, see you next time. Bye.